For the last 3.5 years, Israel has been bombarded daily by a number of rockets coming from Gaza.
There was a time when Israelis were safe from Hamas rockets during the recent ceasefire. In May, there were 149 rocket attacks. In June, before the ceasefire started on the 18th, there were 84. In the rest of June, just 3. Throughout July, August, September and October, there were only 15 attacks, and Israel agrees that none of these rockets were fired by Hamas. On November the 4th, Israel launched an attack that killed 6 Hamas fighters just inside the Gaza Strip. They say the militants were building a tunnel to try and kidnap an Israeli soldier. The result was a fresh barrage of rockets from Hamas. After November the 4th, there were 68 and 52 in December. During the entire period of the ceasefire, no Israelis were killed by Hamas rockets.
Our goals are minimalistic and defensive. Success is freeing the civilian population of southern Israel from the fear of an incoming Hamas rocket.
But if that was the case, there were no Hamas rockets during the ceasefire. Before November the 4th, there were no Hamas rockets for 4 months.
And that's correct.
So how many civilian casualties would it take before you questioned the attack?
There's not a number involved.
Nothing good is going to come at it unless they keep fighting all the way with it till they wipe them all out.
Wipe them all out.
Yeah, they got to go strong with this.
There's only one way to deal with a cancer. You burn it out or you remove it.
How much do we have to bomb them before there's peace?
No matter how long, they must be bombed.
Yeah, how many schools do we have to blow up before there's peace? How is Israel kicking Hamas ass?
We have a very intelligent way of going about it.
Very intelligent.
Very intelligent. We have the greatest intelligence out there. We try to minimize casualties as much as possible, civilians. Well, we have advanced technology.
Israel knows what schools Hamas is hiding in.
Correct.
And then they blow up the whole school.
They
very intelligent.
Yes.
There are weapons factories inside a school. How do you define that?
They're making missiles under the school desks.
Yeah. No, how do you define? No, under the schools there's underground tunnels.
Wherever there is terror, no matter where they hide, you got to get them out. And if the women and children,
even in a school,
wherever there is terror,
even in a school, you have to get them out. Otherwise, no peace, no peace. We have to fight them.
In school. They're hiding in school.
They're making bombs under the desks.
Exactly.
I can tell you one thing. Don't screw with the Jews because we kick butt. Bang!
What? Dude, it's a repeat.
This is a repeat of the Holocaust?
Yeah.
Yes.
How?
We're being persecuted again for the trillionth time ever.
So we're fighting a second Nazi war against the Nazis.
Yeah.
I seem like a good Jew?
You don't seem like a good Jew, but who am I to judge? You seem to be not against terrorists, and I think that makes that a bad person.
We're now joined by Eric Margolis, journalist and member of the International Institute of Strategic Studies and the Institute of Regional Studies in Islamabad, Pakistan, and a contributing editor to the American Conservative magazine. Eric's a very busy man. His latest book, American Raj, Liberation or Domination, reflects on what he describes as the conflict between the West and the Muslim world. Thanks for joining us, Eric. In the midst of the Israeli attack on Gaza, we see Hamas depicted as what's called a terrorist organization. It's recognized so by the United States, by Western Europe, I believe Canada. What do you make? Who and what is Hamas?
Well, you get a very distorted view of Hamas from the Western media. In fact, you never see Hamas without the word terrorist attached to it. But in fact, Hamas is a national liberation movement. It was founded in 1987 by a religious figure, Sheikh Yassin. It was an offshoot of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, one of the oldest religious movements in the Muslim world. And it was founded in opposition to the Palestine Liberation Organization, which had become very corrupt and ineffective. And Hamas was a harder line organization, ironically, originally quietly supported by Israel, who saw it as a way of dividing the Palestinians, but it soon became a monster as far as the Israelis were concerned, because it became extremely effective as a social and political organization, and it became extremely hardline in its what it calls its resistance to Israel.
Now, tell us, what is Hamas, and also get into this issue of Hamas and the Arab world.
Hamas has a number of different levels to it. First of all, it's a social movement. It's a religious movement that preaches resistance to Western and Israeli domination. But secondly, it preaches good government. It's violently against corruption, which is endemic in the Arab world. It's against Western banking practices, usury. It provides social services. The most important factor of Hamas is it provides social service, schools, old folks' homes, sewage, street cleaning, etc., that these governments throughout all of the Arab world don't provide. It takes care of its citizens. That's why Hezbollah in Lebanon is also so popular, because they actually work for the people, and they do a great deal of good for the people, and needless to say, they're tremendously respected and supported. But they have another side, which is an armed resistance wing, and they claim that they are adamantly defending the rights of 5 to 7 million displaced, homeless Palestinian refugees. And yes, it refuses to recognize Israel, though it has hinted at negotiations in the past, and it says it won't recognize Israel until Israel recognizes the rights of 5 to 7 million Palestinians.
Well, the phrase we hear often, certainly in American media is, and Israeli media, Hamas would like to kill every Jew in Israel. I've heard this in the last couple of weeks quite often. Certainly, Israeli leadership sees Hamas as an existential threat, at least they call it that. Is there a basis for that?
I don't think so. This is certainly, we've had this kind of hysteria going on, particularly to the Jewish community in North America, where Hamas is a threat to the existence of Israel. This is nonsense. Hamas has at most 3,000 poorly trained gunmen who have with light weapons surrounded. They're being shot like fish in a barrel in Gaza. To call this a threat to the Jewish state is nonsense. But they can cause Israel a few casualties by firing these homemade rockets. They can do occasional suicide bombing. But by and large, they are no existential threat to Israel.
The willingness or unwillingness of Hamas to recognize Israel, I mean, why don't they just recognize the state of Israel and negotiate? Certainly the PA has, and many of the other Arab countries have. What's the obstacle there? Because Hamas seems to have told Jimmy Carter that they more or less do recognize Israel and more or less are willing to negotiate.
They have.
So why not go the whole 9 yards?
The founder of Hamas, Sheikh Yassin, who was subsequently assassinated by Israel, hinted very broadly that, even made statements that he was willing to reach a settlement with Israel. But Hamas is very adamant. They will not recognize Israel until Israel recognizes the rights of the Palestinians. And Israel says, no, it's tough luck for the Palestinian refugees. That's not our problem. So you have an impasse there. Israel has been assassinating as many Hamas leaders as it could find, and it's been regularly attacking Hamas during this period. There were 2,000 casualties killed in Gaza just in the last couple of years. But
Allahu Akbar wa lillahi alhamd. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar wa lillahi alhamd. Allahu Akbar. Today we are all Hamas. Today we are all Hamas. Today we are all Hamas. I have good news and good news. The first good news. The military resistance in Gaza is intact. Has not even been dented. All the weaponry, all the phosphorus bombs, all the deadly technology exported to the Zionists by the Americans and by the Europeans has not done anything to the resistance. Allahu Akbar wa lillahi alhamd.